this is Brittany from Hand to Mind. This is our 4th grade Teach at Home math video series. This is week 3, day 4. Has there ever been a time where you've had a lot of groups and in each group they each had to share a different amount of items? Well, that has happened to me a time or two. It could have been on a field trip where I had lots of different students. So I might have had 3 students in this group and 5 students in this group and 4 students in another group. And they all had to share a certain amount of items. If that's happened to you, I wonder, when you had to share the items, was it fair? Did your teacher give you all the same amount and it didn't depend on how many people were in the group? Or did the teacher think about that your group had 5 people, but your group had 4, so you might need a little bit more? Well, today we're going to explore this idea of when we have groups of kids, different amounts of groups of kids having to share different amounts of items and try to figure out, is it fair or not? Come join us today as we reason with our fractions.
So let's continue working on this idea with reasoning with fractions by exploring a real life situation. So I'm sure you've been in a situation just like we talked about a while ago where you've been in a group of people and you've been given something to share. And so this is my story. So there was one time when I had groups of children and they were all sharing some brownies. And in one group, I had 4 children sharing 3 brownies. In another group, I had 5 children sharing 4 brownies. And in another group, I had 8 children sharing 7 brownies. And let me tell you, they were not happy with me. They did not think the way I gave them the brownies was fair. And so I needed to figure out, did I do something wrong? For 4 children, I gave 3, for 5, I gave 4, and for 8, I gave 7. I thought I did it pretty fairly, but they said I didn't. So what we're going to try to figure out is how much brownie did each person get in each group, because we want to know how much of a brownie they got. And then we want to figure out which group did each person get the most brownie. That's what we want to figure out, because that was the fight. They said that I was not fair. So we want to figure out, did someone get more than another person? And if so, what did that look like? And so what we're going to use today is we're going to use our fraction tiles to help us with this, okay? So if you have fraction tiles, please feel free to use them. If you don't, you can follow along with us using the Braining Camp app. Or you could just follow along with us on here. Okay, so the situation was this. There were 4 children. The first situation was 4 children and they got 3 brownies. That's all they got. They were not happy. They said I wasn't very fair. So let's find out how much of the brownie they got, of a brownie they got, okay? How much brownie they got. So we know they got 3 brownies. So here's the 3 brownies. So there's a brownie. So there's the 3 brownies. Now, I want you to think about, what could I do to these brownies if I have to share them between 4 children? Because there's not enough to give everyone 1 brownie, is there? So what could I do? So think about what you could do. Because you can tell the person next to you what you think I could do. I wonder how many of you said, well, you could just cut each one of the brownies into 4 equal pieces. Yeah, so I could do that. And then I guess my question is, if I do this, how does that help me? How does that help me figure out how much brownie they got? So some of you are like, well, we know that each one of those are fourths, right? So we know because there's 4 equal pieces. I can check that. Yep, that's what those are. Very nice. But what I could do is, I've got 4 children, right? So I could give this kid a 4th, this kid a 4th, this one a 4th, and this one a 4th. There's my 4 kids, right? And I could keep doing that. Could just keep giving them a 4th, a 4th, and a 4th, and another 4th, and another 4th, and another fourth, and another fourth. So how much brownie did each kid get? Well, if we look at that again, that means that each one got 3 1/4 pieces or 3/4 of a brownie. So if I took these pieces and I put this back here, this is the 3 that they got 3/4 of a brownie. Huh. So that group got 3/4. Well, at least we know how much of a brownie they got, right? Okay, well, let's work on and you might want to write that down. So the 4 children with the 3 brownies got 3/4 of brownie. Okay, so I'm going to clear this. We're going to go to this next situation, which was 5 children. Wow. Which was 5 children. And I gave them 4 brownies. Again, I thought I was making sure that everyone got the right amount, but they did not think they did. Okay, so how can we think about this? So again, we've got our 4 brownies. So let's get our 4 brownies because I gave them 4 brownies. I didn't give them 3. They got 4 brownies. So there's their 4 brownies, right? So lift that up a little bit so we can get our pieces into there. So how might you divide this between 5 children? So can you tell the person next to you what you might do? I wonder how many of you said, well, you could break them up into 5 equal pieces. Yeah, so I sure could. I could take each one of these and I could break them up into 5 equal pieces. And we're going to pretend like that's right there just so that you can see that. Into 5 equal pieces. Now, how do I share these out? So I could say for this child, they get 1. So this is just like what we did a while ago. And what are each one of these pieces called? Because I took the whole and I divided it into 5 equal pieces. Which each one? Did you say they're each called a fifth? We'll check and make sure, okay? We'll check and make sure. So there we go. I'm not putting these together because they're really separate little pieces because I cut them all, right? So let's see if I can get this to come over. They may just have to, there we go. And then so we said those are 1/5 pieces. Let's see if that's, it sure is. And so how much of a brownie did they get? They got 4 1/5 pieces or 4/5. They sure did. So I can show that. They got 4/5 of a brownie. So right there, 4/5 of a brownie. Nice. So make sure you write that down somewhere. Okay, so now we know how much they got. So the other one that had 4 children with 3 brownies, they got 3/4. And the one with 5 children and 4 brownies, they got 4/5. Okay, I'm going to clear this because the next one is going to be 8 children. 8 children and 7 brownies. Oh my goodness. Now how am I going to get all this back on there? Start back over. Let's get that back. Don't know why that just went like that, but we'll do that. It's okay. Okay. So 8 children and 7 brownies. Here we go. Okay. So this time, 7 brownies. So we may have to put a brownie over here. A brownie over here. A brownie right here. There we go. And there's our 7 brownies. And so my question to you is, how are we going to share these out with 8 children? What are we going to have to do? Well, that would be like dividing it into 8 equal pieces, right? So we have to take this and We'll take that and we'd have to divide that into 8 equal pieces. I would do the same thing over here. And I would do the same thing right here. And over here. And then right here. And then over here. And then right here. And so when you divide something into 8 equal pieces, what is each one of those pieces? Did you say 1/8? Ah, so that is 1/8. Okay, so I don't have room here to show you how we would separate those out, but if we had 8 children, that means that they're going to get, I could do this, I could circle, they're going to get one from here, 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 one from here. How many 1/8? That's one child. And then I could do the same thing for child number 2, right? I could take this and do that for child number 2, and this is for child number 3. And so how many, and we could keep doing that, how many pieces are, or how much of a brownie is each child really going to get? So if those are 1/8, that's 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8, which is the same thing as 7/8 or 7 1/8 pieces. So they're each getting 7/8. Okay, so write that information down so we can go back and we can talk about this. So what we saw was that 4 children share 3 brownies, which means that each one of them got 3 1/4 pieces. I can see that right here. They got 3 1/4 pieces, or 3/4. When we had 5 children share 4 brownies, they got 4 1/5 pieces, or 4/5. 4 1/5 pieces, or 4/5. We can say it the same way, right? That's for the 5 children. Then for the 8 children, they got 7 1/8 pieces. So they got 7 1/8 pieces. Each one of these kids got 7 1/8 pieces, or 7/8. So the question comes, they said wasn't fair. They said that some people got more than others. And so our job is to figure out who got the most brownie, who got the least brownie. So we know that 4 children share 3 brownies, they're getting 3/4 of a brownie. 5 children share 4 brownies, they're getting 4/5 of a brownie. 8 children share 7 brownies, they're getting 7/8 of a brownie. So what I want you to do right now is I just want you to think and reason about these fractions, because that's what we're doing today. We're just reasoning about the fractions. We're using what we know in situations that can help us. So thinking and reasoning about these fractions, do you see any relationships that could help you figure out who got the most, who got the least? So I want you to take a moment to look at those. Look at 3/4, 4/5, and 7/8, and think about those and reason about those. I wonder if anyone noticed something about these fractions. Did anyone notice that 3/4 is 1/4 away from a whole? So it's almost to that whole. 4/5 is 1/5 away from the whole. And 7/8 is 1/8 away from the whole. Now, how can that help us? How can that help us? Well, I know that a 4th is bigger than a 5th because it's cut into less pieces, so those pieces are going to be bigger. I know that 1/5 is going to be bigger than 1/8. So if I'm thinking about 1 whole, then I know that 1/8 is going to be really close. It's just a little piece almost to 1 whole. Then 1/5 is a little bit smaller piece than 1/4. So it's going to be a little bit closer, but it's not going to be as close as 1/8. And 1/4 is going to be the furthest away from 1/2. So how does that help me? Well, that helps me now know that 3/4 is further away from 1/2, so it's going to be the least. And 7/8 is the closest to 1/2, so it's going to be the most, and then they are right in the middle, right? So, oh, I wasn't fair. They were right. So who got the most brownie? The 8 children with 7 brownies, they got the most brownie. And who got the least brownie? Oh, it's these poor people. The 4 children who had to share the 3 brownies. Oh, well, I'm going to have to do a much better job. But now that I know how to think and reason about my fractions, it's going to make it a little bit easier, and I'll have to think about that a little bit better the next time so I don't do that. So let's practice thinking and reasoning about these fractions. So let's compare 1/5 to 1/3. And I just want you to think and reason about them. We don't need to draw any pictures. We just want to think and reason about them. So is 1/5 greater, less, or equal to 1/3? Did you say less than? And if you said less than, did you say less than because if I was sharing a pizza with 5 people versus 3 people, if I had to cut it in 5 equal pieces, those pieces are going to have to be smaller pieces than 1/3. 1/3 pieces are going to be larger because they don't have as many cuts, so I'm going to get bigger pieces. So 1/3 has to be less than, 1/5 has to be less than 1/3. Let's think and reason about this one. What about 11/12 and 7/8? Did you say that 11/12 is greater than 7/8? I wonder if you said that because you noticed that 11/12 is just 1/12 away from being 1/2, and 7/8 is just 1/8. And what do you know about a 12th versus an 8th? A 12th is smaller because there's more of those cuts, so it makes smaller pieces. So that means if we're looking at that, it's 1/12. That's going to be a smaller piece to get to 1/2, so it has to be more than 1/8 because that's a larger piece to get there. Nice. That's thinking and reasoning about your fractions. Okay? And I'll erase this a little bit so y'all don't have to. Yeah. So that help you? Okay? So 4/5 and 5/6. Can you think and reason about that one? 4/5 and 5/6. Okay? So 4/5 is less than 5/6 because, did you notice that this is 1/5 away from being a whole and this is 1/6 away from being a whole? And we know that a 6th is smaller than a 5th. And so if it's smaller, then that means it has less distance to get to one whole. So therefore, 4/5 is less than 5/6. If you would like to continue to practice this skill, because to reason about fractions, we have to practice them. We have to get used to looking at them and looking for those relationships and putting that visual picture in our head. And so if you'd like to practice this more, then please go to hand2mind.com where you can learn more about reasoning with fractions. I hope you all have a great day.